Let's take you back to Heidi Jokos now. She is with the Minister in the Presidency, Heidi Khumbudzo, Ntshavheni. All right, basically she is going to be in conversation with Khumbudzo Ntshavheni, that is the Minister in the Presidency. Very important response. We heard already from them a little earlier today. We're getting a response all the way to the Presidency. So the national seat of government is responding to this crisis. Heidi, what is she telling you?
Ladies.
Yes, okay. Just give us a second, Masako, because we're just waiting for all other media houses to just get together. But we do see the Minister in the Presidency. I'm not sure if she's ready to start. Let's just listen in.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the Minister in the Presidency, Minister Khumbudzo Ntshavheni, will address the media. Should also take questions. Thank you. Let me hold it. Okay, you hold it.
It's unfortunately, it's not a very good afternoon for the residents of the city of Johannesburg, for the residents of Gauteng, and also for the people of South Africa. The number of lives that have perished in this fire, it's very high, and it's quite saddening. And it's at this point that as we work together, we're supporting the city of Johannesburg, supporting the Gauteng province, and supporting the families that have lost loved ones. We need to come together as a nation and ensure that an incident like this does not happen again. An incident like this where buildings are hijacked and people stay there in unconducive, inhumane conditions does not happen. It needs all of us collectively, the non-governmental sector, the government and the private sector, to work together to prevent what has happened today. We need to send our messages to the mothers who have lost their children, the families who have lost their loved ones, and those who have been injured. And we are informed that the city and the Gauteng province, the MEC for Human Settlements, are going to make provision for temporary shelter for the ones who no longer have accommodation now. And that provision is not going to be discriminating whether you are legally in the country or whether you are in the country illegally for now, so that we can then deal with a humanitarian situation that is confronting us. We are pleading to those who are hijacking buildings to stop, but also with our people not to fall for the hijacked buildings. You can see around us, there are buildings that have been renewed. There is a project underway with the city of Johannesburg for the revitalization of the city center and the CBD. And that project will not continue if we are continuously, as government, taken to court to prevent the eviction of those who have occupied the buildings illegally. It is a time that, as we reflect and commit that an incident like this should not recur in our country, that as a nation we must come together and have a deep conversation to say the moving of people, the eviction of people in abandoned buildings, in condemned buildings, is not inhumane, is the protection and the saving of lives. We must have a conversation of what do we do with those who have received housing subsidies in their rural homes when they come to the cities and they need affordable housing. How do we accommodate them? But also it's a conversation we must have to say, what do we do with those who are fleeing into our country and they do not want to be legally registered and documented in this country? So that how do we house them, how do we accommodate them? But it's also about us as a community to say, when you are residing in a neighboring building and you see that a crime is taking place, including the hijacking of buildings, you notify the authorities that must respond to make sure that the evictions can happen timelessly without having an incident of this nature. It must also mean ourselves who are neighbors, we must stand watch as community watch to make sure that the illegal connections of electricity also do not take place. You will be briefed later in the day by the technical team of the city of Johannesburg and the province of Gauteng in terms of what has happened. They are planning a briefing around 3 and 4 in terms of what has happened and what are the developments going forward. When the technical team has briefed and done the update, the government is going to respond to say what are the interventions in a permanent manner that is going to come through. It's a pity that this incident is being used for politics, and it's not the time and place to politic and electioneer at the expense of the lives that have been lost. We must come together as a nation as we mourn the lives lost. We pray for those who have been injured to recover speedily. We must come together and say, how do we rebuild this country? How do we rebuild this society? Because it needs all of us in our different responsibilities. And I'd like to thank you for being here, and I'd like to thank you for keeping South Africa up to date and the world up to date with the developments that are taking place. And we will take a moment of silence, and the president will speak to this incident because the numbers are just staggering. As a country, we have not lost a number of people at this magnitude in the most recent history, and the numbers are just heart-wrenching and heartwarming. I cannot comprehend what to do beyond that, and that's why we felt we need to come through and see for ourselves, though the team of the first responders are mapping back what has happened. What I can assure you, I've been informed that the mortal remains have been removed, though the police with the canine unit are doing the final sweep to make sure that those which the first responders might have missed, they can pick them up with the canines through the canine unit, so that we make sure that everybody has been everybody that was inside is accounted for, and those who they've also moved them into the mortuaries, and the others have been moved into the hospitals. And we are going to then look at there will then be an announcement of what becomes the overnight accommodation for those, and the provisioning for food and related matters for those that are now destitute and displaced because this building are hijacked. And I just want to reiterate, because I was asked a question to say, have you done enough? You'll recall that 3 weeks ago, the Minister of Police was here in the city of Johannesburg doing Operation Shanyela, trying to find out the fake goods, illegal occupation of building and so forth. And he explained at that period that it cannot be correct that when the police arrive, people disappear. It means there's something illegal. And it's up to us collectively as South Africans to say we will not allow illegality to take place in our country, but we will not be succumb to vigilantism. We'll get ourselves to work with our community, our security agencies to deal with all forms of illegality, so that an incident like what has happened today do not happen again. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions? We've spoken to various different political parties, those that have been in power here as well as those that are now.
Right, of course, the media will have many questions to ask the minister in the presidency, Khumbudzo Ntshavheni.